Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome back to yet another episode on your favorite Little Slaw YouTube channel. So today in this video, we are going to discuss about the sign-off process. So basically, what is the sign-off process and what are the criteria for doing the performance testing sign-off? So because every time, like when we have put a lot of efforts in doing the performance testing, collecting the requirement, doing the analysis, and doing the testing, but at the end the judgment day, which is the sign off day. So we have to be very careful on that particular part. So today I'll discuss about the criteria for the performance testing sign off, and also um, like I mentioned in the end of the video, I will come up with the sign off template for you. I will give you a walkthrough and then I will upload the same in my GitHub. So you can take it from there and you can use it for your project as well. So please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like the video, and share the video with your friends. So before I move on to the video on understanding how to get the sign off, I mean, what are the criteria for signing off, I'll just take you through two simple questions, and this is just a glimpse of what we are going to discuss in this video. So if you know the answer, please do comment in the comment section, or if you don't know the answer, if you want to understand about the criteria for the signing off, please do watch the entire video and then you can answer these two questions. So I will even add these two questions at the end of the video for you, or else you can even come back to this part and you can watch this question again and you can answer it. I will even add the timing for you so that you can come back. You can select these, come to this part, and then you can answer this question. So, firstly, which of the following is essential to complete before the performance testing sign off? So, the first thing is conducting a final user survey or completing all the planned performance tests, including load and stress test. So, this is my first question. So, if you know the answer, please do comment in the comment section, or if you don't know the answer, please do watch the entire video and then you can answer this question. And coming to the second question, what should be done with non-critical performance issues identified during testing? So if you are identifying any performance bottlenecks, or if you're identifying any non-critical, any non-critical, I mean, there are like critical performance issues and non-critical performance issues. So what should you do if you are identifying any non-critical performance issues during testing? So ignore them and proceed with the release, or you will document them with a plan for future resolution. So what will you do? If you know the answer, please do comment in the comment section. Or if you don't know the answer, like I told you, watch the entire video and then come back to this time, and then you can answer this. I can just go back to the go back through the question again, and then you can answer it for me. So I believe this video will definitely help you during your sign off. Like I mentioned, that's the final judgment day, so you have to be aware of what you're going to do in this. So yeah, now let's move on to the video. The sign off process for performance testing is a critical step in ensuring that a software product meets the necessary quality and performance standard before it is released. So now we will see the criteria for performance testing sign off one by one. So we have nearly 8 criterias for approving the performance testing, which basically is so doing the signing off for the performance testing or approving the performance testing results. So I will take you through the steps one by one, and I will explain you with an example of how to do it and how does it really happen. So the first part of it is finish the testing. So we need to make sure that we have done all the tests that we have planned, like testing how many users the system can handle at once. For example, your load testing and what happens when the system is pushed to its limits, which is the stress testing. And these tests should be done in a way that is as close to the real thing as possible, which is you have to emulate very closer to the real world scenario by identifying the load and identifying the stress. And we also need to check different ways people might use the system to make sure we have covered everything. So finally, we should review the test logs to confirm or the test results to confirm that we did not miss anything. And for an example, I would say that you have planned to test if your website can handle 1000 users at the same time. So we need to actually do this test, and also we need to run it for a long time to see if the website slows down over time. So this is one of the example where we are achieving the plan of running all the performance tests or executing all the performance tests that we have planned. So like I told you, you have to complete your load testing, you have to complete your stress testing, and any other types of performance testing that you have planned. And then moving on to the next part, which is fixing the important issues. So when it comes to fixing the important issues, if we found any big problems during testing, we need to fix them, and then we have to test again to make sure that they are really fixed. So this is the first step that we have to do, which is we have to find the bottleneck and we have to fix it. We have to do it's a kind of a regression performance testing. So we need to make sure that the issue is fixed before it does move to sign off. So for smaller issues, which is not urgent, we should note them down and we have to plan when we will fix them later. It's important to keep everyone updated on what has been fixed and what is still outstanding. So when I say what has been fixed, so it is something like the performance bottlenecks, which in terms of any applications, any transactions which has high response time, so that has been fixed. And also you have to make sure you have to keep note on what is still outstanding from your set of performance testing. So when it comes to an example, so if your website crashes when too many people log in, and you need to fix that before you move on to the production. So after fixing it, you should test again to make sure the crash does not happen anymore. And you might also notice some pages loading slowly, and you can plan to fix it later. So that is the fixing of important issues. So even you can fix major issues like the garbage collection. So those things has to be fixed before that's been moved. And then the next part, which is the documentation. So you have to complete the documentation. So you need to write down everything you did during testing, like what you tested, the results, and any problems you have found. And it's also important to include any charts. I mean, you have to include all the charts, you have to include all the graphs to show how the system performed under different conditions. So when I say the charts and graphs, it has to be the CPU utilization, the memory utilization, the disk input output. So all these has to be charted and graphed, and it has to be added to your documentation, which is basically the test results. And if there were any limits to your testing, for example, like not being able to test during peak hours, so you should mention those and explain how they might affect the results. So these are some of the factor which most of the people would not tell you, but you have to make sure that what are the limitations to your testing in your test environment. And for example, you should document all the details like how the website performed with increasing number of users, and you also should note if you could not test during peak traffic time. So mostly that happens. I mean, like we normally do testing during off peak hours or like off after office hours, so that nobody uses the system. So you have to make sure you have to at least test the system, or if you're not doing it, you have to ensure that that has been added to your documentation. And that's very important because these are some of the things which you have to get it signed off before you move to production. So next part is meeting the performance goals, which is the criteria satisfaction. So you have to check if the system meets the performance goals that you have set before you start your performance testing. I mean, whatever you have set in your test plan, like how fast the pages should load and how many users the application can handle during the load testing or during the stress testing. And if the system does not meet these goals, you might need to adjust the system or you have to rethink your goals. So that is another part. So when it comes to meeting the performance goals or coming to the criteria satisfaction, you have to make note of these. And it's also good to compare the current test results with the past test to see if things have improved or they have gotten worse. So if your goal was for pages to load in under 2 seconds, you need to make sure this happens even when a lot of people are using the website at the same time. So that's important when it comes to the criteria satisfaction. So again, let me just recap. So you have to verify that the application meets the predefined performance benchmark. So when I say predefined benchmark performance benchmarks, it is the SLAs that you would have planned during your test planning or during your test strategy, and which includes all the NFRs in terms of like throughput, your response times, your scalability, even your CPU utilization, your memory utilization. So those factors, those criteria has to be satisfied. And moving to the next part, which is the stakeholder approval. So you have to get your stakeholder approval. So for that, you need to show the results to everyone who is involved, which is we normally tell it as the RACI, which is the responsible, accountable, and who is involved in it and who does the consultant. So all these people, the stakeholders has to be involved, like the business managers and the technical team, and make sure they're happy with how things turned out. And it's also important that they understand the results and any risks or limitations you found. So you should get formal approval from everyone before moving forward. So for example, even in several scenarios, you have to give a demo or a walkthrough on your results to all the stakeholders so that you make sure they understood the results. So after testing, you will present the results to the business manager and the technical team, and they need to agree that the website is ready for launch, and you should get their signature to confirm this. So maybe through an email, or I mean, mostly keeping an email communication is very good in terms of getting the sign off, because sometimes after some time, like if somebody wants to have a proof of who did confirmed or who did agreed for the sign off, so you need to have a proof of it. So always make sure that you are getting a mail, an email proof with any, keeping everybody in the loop, and you're getting that email so that you have a proof that everything is set and everything is ready for your sign off. And moving to the next part, which is assessing the risks. So when it comes to assessing the risk, you should identify any risks that could affect the system once it is in live, and also you have to make plans to handle them if they happen. So what could be the risks? I'll tell you an example. So you need to figure out how likely each risk is and also how bad it could be, so you can prioritize them. And also you should discuss these risks with everyone who are involved and get their input on your plan. So for example, let's say there's a chance that the website might crash if too many people use it at the same time. So you need to plan for what to do if the website crashes, like having the support team ready to jump in, or the DevOps team or the infrastructure team, so that they will restart your application, they will restart your web servers, your app servers, so that the application again comes up and it is available for the user. So these are some of the risks that you should figure out how bad it could be. Like if the servers are not available, or if the system is not available, then how will the end user be able to use the system? So you should understand what is going to happen and how bad it could happen, and also you should prioritize them. So that's the process of assessing the risk, which is the risk assessment. So you should conduct all these before you move your application to production. And then coming back to the next part, which is preparing for release. So when it comes to preparing for release or the release readiness, you have to make sure that everything is ready for the system to go live. What does it mean? Everything that includes setting up these servers and make sure everything is connected properly, which is, I mean, when it comes to the servers, like the web servers, the app servers, the database servers, and everything, that every individual module and the customer support team should be trained and ready to help users if any issues comes up. Yeah, this is another critical part, that everybody who is using, I mean, like everybody who is part of the customer support has to be trained, and they had to be ready to help the users, because once you release your application into production, the users will be, initially they'll be like confused, like where is this click button, why should I click this, where is my regular UI? So they'll be getting confused, right? So there will be a lot of questions to the customer support, so they should be properly trained. And you should run some final tests in the live environment to catch any last minute problems. Yeah, even I would advise the same thing, like run a last minute test, mostly using the get request, not any post request, but just run a get request to make sure that there are no issues. And it's also a good idea to have a backup plan in case something goes wrong after the release. When it comes to having a backup plan, is having your old application, I mean a previous release. So if something goes wrong, you can just bring up the old release, and until the new release is ready for production, you can have your old application. So you should make sure that the website is uploaded to the live server, the database is set up, the customer support team knows how to handle any issues. So you will do one last check to make sure everything is working as expected before it's going live. And finally, the final validation, or the final day, the final decision. So you will hold a final meeting with all the stakeholders who are involved to review the testing results. the risks, and the readiness for release. And you'll have to prepare a sign off document with all the details and get approval from a key people before moving forward. And if everyone agrees, you'll go ahead with the release. If not, you will address any concerns first. So, for example, after reviewing everything, every single thing, you will have a meeting with the QA manager, the business teams, the BA, the end users, I mean, the users in your project or an application who is actually more than funding the project, and the technical lead to decide if they are ready to launch. And you'll have to prepare a sign off document with all the details and get their signatures to move forward with the release. And in fact, I just want to make a note that I will come up with the uh, sign off document, a template, so that you can use it for your project. And that will be very helpful because you do not want to confuse yourself. You don't need to worry about the sign up document. I'll just prepare it and add it to this. I'll just give you a walkthrough in our next video. And yeah, with that, I come to an end.